Alrighty, so we're going to get started, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Lindsay Humphreys, and I'm the Program Director for Junior Achievement of New Mexico. Thank you for attending our virtual career speaker series. This program is open to JA students across New Mexico, and we highlight business professionals, entrepreneurs, and innovative thinkers from a variety of industries. Each of our featured speakers are going to share details about their education, their job, and their career journey. But before we get started, we'll go through some of our virtual meeting etiquette reminders. So I did say that this video is recorded, and so that we will post that into our YouTube channel after the meeting, and you'll be able to share that with anybody who wasn't able to attend today's session. If you're an educator on the call, if you could just let us know how many students there are with you, that would be excellent. And then just a reminder that during the speaker's presentation, please have your mics muted, and then we'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions if you would like to unmute during the Q&A portion of the event. Today, we are so excited to welcome Debbie Ramirez, attorney for Rohde Law Firm, Sherry Reed, Senior Vice President for Century Bank, and Sabina Garcia, Senior Project Manager for Hewitt Zollers, Inc. These amazing women are all a part of Crew New Mexico. Crew New Mexico is dedicated to transforming the commercial real estate industry by advancing women globally. We are delighted to feature these amazing women, and they are very excited to share their stories with you. So the first thing we'll do is we'll have all of our speakers take a moment to share with the students your name, your title, where you work, and how long you've worked there. So we'll start with Savina. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you all for having us here today. My name is Sabina Garcia, and I am a civil engineer. I've been practicing for over 20 years, so about 23 years, and I've been with my current firm just over 8 years.
And I'm Debbie Ramirez. I'm an attorney with the Rohde Law Firm. I've been practicing law for over 25 years, and I've been with my current firm for almost 6 years.
And I'm Sherry Reed. I'm a Senior Vice President at Century Bank. I've been with Century for about 4.5 years, but I've had a 35-year career in commercial real estate.
Thank you so much. So we're going to start off by talking about your educational journey, and feel free to touch on how you found Crew New Mexico during that as well. Just talking about how you've progressed through your academics and your education. We can go ahead this time, and we'll start with Sherry.
So I discovered in both middle school, but mostly high school, that I loved math. So I originally thought I was going to be an engineer like Savina. And then I went to a senior day in my high school and decided instead to become an appraiser and get a finance degree. And so I got my finance degree with a real estate option at Texas Tech University in Lubbock, Texas.
I'll go next. Like Sherry, I too enjoyed math in middle school and high school and thought I was going to be an engineer, and ended up going to business school at the University of Texas at Austin and studied accounting and information systems. So I did a lot of work with finance and computers, and then went to work for an oil and gas company in Houston, Texas. And then later decided I wanted to become a lawyer. So then I went to law school a little bit later in my life. I was about 31 when I started law school. And I've really enjoyed being a lawyer. It's been a good match between my business background and my legal training.
And I guess I always wanted to be an engineer, and I stuck with being an engineer. In middle school, I can remember wanting to build and design bridges like the Golden Gate Bridge and things. And I did love math too, but coming from a small community, we actually ran out of math classes for me to take. So when I went to college at NMSU, I started a little bit behind some of the other students, but NMSU had a great program there, and so I was able to catch up and been enjoying my career ever since. So I don't think there was anything really else that I wanted to do, but yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Could you each one of you take a moment and describe your first job? We can go ahead and we'll start with Debbie this time.
My very first job was at a Dunkin' Donuts in El Paso, Texas, while I was in college during the summer. And that was a great job to teach me about dealing with customers and making sure that the customers got what they wanted and were happy with their coffee and their donuts. And then after college, my first job was as an accountant in an oil and gas company. And that customer service knowledge that I got working at Dunkin' Donuts really has helped me throughout the years, because really the customer is very important in just about anything that you do.
I'll go on with that. My first job was actually, it was before I went to 8th grade. So I think I was still in 7th grade, and I was a car hop at a drive-in in my hometown. And that I was a car hop, and then I was a waitress, and I worked at McDonald's. So a lot of those kinds of jobs where you just learned a lot how to, handle different types of folks and things that they wanted and maybe we didn't have any more of. So being a car hop was lots of fun. I got to hang out with my friends and they'd come visit me too. But, learning, I think I learned how to count and give change too. So that was lots of fun.
And my first job was handing out brochures at a model home complex. I was just entering high school, and my parents were buying a house at this complex, and the woman that worked there, that was also the mortgage lender, said, on the weekends I get really busy, and sometimes people come through the model homes, and I don't even have a chance to greet them or give them a brochure. So think of kind of like a Walmart greeter. As people came into the complex, I would hand them a brochure, tell them about all the options at the houses, and then try and answer any questions they had after they'd gone through the model homes. And then my next job was working at a Friendly's ice cream store and a Swenson's ice cream store. And it's interesting that Debbie started her career at a Dunkin' Donuts because the New Mexico Dunkin' Donuts franchisee is one of my customers. You're at the bank. So, yeah, all of these new Dunkin' Donuts stores you see going up, I'm the one that's financing them.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. So kind of on that note, let's talk about those life lessons that you've learned throughout your professional journeys, whether it was your first job and you learned how to be an employee, or in your jobs recently, a time when you messed up or you failed, and how did you handle that situation? And we can start with Savina this time.
Ooh. I've messed up a bit sometimes, but I was trying to kind of remember one of the ones that I think it was early on in my career, and I had designed a noise wall. It's just a block wall, and I had designed it, and then I was responsible for the construction management of the project, and something happened, and I moved it. I said, move it over here, and they built it, and it was up, and you couldn't see past it. It was at an intersection of a road, and I was just like, all 10 feet of it by 100, however long it was, I messed up. And so how I handled that, and that was actually something that has gone in throughout my career, where it's great when you do everything perfect, but it's how you handle the mess ups. You just, here it is, I messed this up, and here's how I think we can fix it. And just moving forward to that, it was very uncomfortable. I was like, I didn't mess up. I did mess up, and I accepted that, and just fixing it, working with the client and the contractor, and taking care of it, getting it fixed. And that's really something throughout my career. It's how you handle those things that don't always go right, don't go your way.
So I'll go next. I agree with what Savina has said. Nobody's perfect. Everybody makes mistakes. So when you realize you've made one, you need to own up to it, figure out how to fix it, and then learn from it. and, what went wrong? Why did this mistake happen? How could I keep it from happening again? But yeah, so the one mistake that I made very early in my career is I was doing data entry for a bank after hours because I was in college, and so it was like an evening, nighttime job. And I was complaining about management to my coworker, thinking it was between us. And that coworker went and told management what I said, and I got fired. I was 19 years old, 20 years old. So the lesson I learned with that is, just keep your head down, do your job, and don't worry about things that are out of your control, and you'll be just fine. And, not a good idea to complain about management.
In my experience has been similar. If I make a mistake, I figure it out. What did I do wrong? Tell whoever needs to know about it, fix it, and learn from it. So I think that's the lesson when we're all going to make mistakes, and it's just being able to recognize it and accept it and fix it.
Excellent. Those are great. Thank you so much for sharing. And it's also, those lessons are learning from them and taking that knowledge and not making the same mistake twice. And so thank you so much for sharing that. So kind of on the same line of that, so could you describe some life lessons that you've learned, maybe not just failing or messing up, but some on-the-job life lessons that you've taken throughout your life and your professional career? Sherry, go ahead.
So Lindsay mentioned that all three of us are in an organization called CREW, and we have a mentor-protege program where, mentors that have been in the field longer and mentor proteges that are just getting started in their careers. And one of the things that we have in that program, which I think is a very valuable lesson, is figure out what your strengths are, what you enjoy, and do things that play to your strengths, that are things that you feel like well, that you want to get to know better, and then don't worry about the other stuff. And you'll be much more successful if you go into and do things that you enjoy.
And I think kind of that same concept, really don't necessarily listen to what everybody else has to say sometimes. I think a lot in my career, I was usually the youngest. I was probably the only female, only gal engineer, and I was the boss, and nobody knew that. I guess people would come in, or contractors, whoever it may be, and they'd be like, well, who's in charge here? And it's like, this gal. So don't listen to what other people have to say about it. You do your work, you do well, your stuff, and everything else will fall into place the way it's supposed to there. You can't listen to other people thinking like, well, you're the only girl, so how are you the boss? I am the boss, and here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to solve this problem. So keep that in mind.
One lesson I learned not that long ago, surprisingly, I've always been a very independent person, even when I was a kid. And when I first moved to New Mexico about 12 years ago, I was trying to figure out if I had made the right decision to move here, because I had given up my job in my previous employer, and it was a little bit of a scary time for me. And I reached out for help, and I talked to some of my friends and some other people to help me understand and talk about the decision that I had made to move to New Mexico. And I realized, probably for the first time in my life, that it's really important to ask for help when you need it. Even if you're very competent and you know what you're doing, sometimes you're going to run into something that you may not know everything about, or that you're not comfortable about, and it's okay to reach out and ask somebody for help. That was a good lesson that I learned.
Excellent. Thank you. I'd actually love to ask a follow-up question to that, because all of you are women in typically male-dominated industries. And so would you mind just touching on that and saying maybe if there were struggles? I know, Savina, you kind of touched on that already, but if you want to share a little bit more about how you overcame that, and for the young women or, the young people on the call right now to know how to deal with that pressure in the future.
How do I deal with that pressure? It's something that you just, that's a tough one. How do you deal with it? In college, there were many classes where I was the only girl, and it was like, it's not that long ago. I was in school in 1995 through 98. So it's not like it was that long ago, but just kind of getting over that uncomfortableness, or being, the only maybe Hispanic person, whatever it may be, you have to remember what you're doing, why you're doing it. It's not for anybody else. It's for you. It's a struggle sometimes, because I come from a small town from Santa Rosa. There was, 35 kids in my high school class. I just didn't have those skills to know where, other folks came from bigger high schools and they had all these different opportunities. So just trying to stay confident, even though it's hard, and just thinking that, I want to do better for myself. I want to be successful, and it's not always easy, but just trying to keep going with that.
Yeah, when I first started my professional career was in the oil and gas industry, which is very male dominated. And I was a young, 20-something-year-old Hispanic woman in Houston, Texas, working with a lot of Anglo men. And it was very challenging, but I found that the more comfortable I became with my knowledge, and I felt like I knew what I was doing, and I was confident. That helped me a lot in dealing with the men that I had to encounter in my job. And even today, I still work primarily with a lot of men, and sometimes it's difficult. But I think for me, it's been about confidence and not letting what they say or what they do really bother me, and just moving forward with what I'm there to do.
Yeah, I would concur with the other two ladies. It's really important to be competent and confident in your work. And I was fortunate enough to have male managers and bosses during my career that were advocates for me, mentors for me, had confidence in me. And so it helped me be in this male-dominated world, that I had men that had confidence in my abilities to do my job. And like Debbie said before, also don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. And I think, the more you establish those relationships with your male coworkers, and they see you in action, and you're able to share ideas and information with them, then they gain confidence in your abilities.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I would like to close up our questions before we go into the Q&A portion with our favorite question that we ask all of our speakers is, what is the best advice you've ever received? So that we can have some of the kiddos on the call today take that with them.
I'll start. And it's something that Sabina said earlier. My high school math teacher was very important in my life because I liked math so much, and I had him for 2 classes, 3 years. And one really good piece of advice he gave me, which I have always gone back to year after year after year, was to do what really makes you happy and makes sense for you, and not necessarily what you think other people think makes sense for you. So really focusing on what you're good at and what you enjoy doing, and not letting what other people think really influence too much what you decide to do with yourself.
And I guess some of the best advice and really, I guess, encouragement that I've received. I had At my previous job, I was there for many years, over 20 years, and my mentor, he was really good about encouraging me, and when I'd come to him with a problem, or whether it be work related, or just everything. And one of the things he always would keep telling me was, just keep talking, let's keep talking about this. Don't just, internalize it, or let it, or just squash it, or whatever. Let's keep talking about it. There's a solution. I know we can come up with it. So just keep talking. That was a good one for me.
So I recently came back from the Crew National Convention in Las Vegas, and one of the speakers put up a quote that I thought was very powerful. Be yourself, because everyone else is already taken. So,
I love that. Thank you so much. So we're going to open it up to the Q&A portion of the event. So if there's any students that are on the call, or if there's teachers that would like to type into the chat box, or if anybody would like to ask questions, they can unmute and go ahead and ask questions that way. We do have one question that was asked in the registration. And so whichever one of our speakers would like to touch on it, you're more than welcome. So what were some of the challenges that you may have experienced to get to your position, if there have been any, and is your field different than others? So I'll give that one. We'll start it off with Debbie, if you want to go ahead and start with that one, challenges you faced.
Sure. Well, the biggest challenges, I think, were the educational requirements. I had to go to college, and then I had to go to law school. So that's 7 years of more school after high school, which I really enjoyed, but it was challenging times. Law school is fairly difficult. And in my career, what I do for a living is a little different from others, because I really spend a lot of time counseling clients and helping them solve their problems. But a lot of my work is confidential, so I can't really talk about it, because I can't reveal client confidential conversations. But I really enjoy what I do, because I do help people solve problems.
I'll go next. Similar to what Debbie is saying, I also need to try and help my customers solve problems. I have some customers that are very experienced in doing loan transactions and borrowing money, but then I also have customers that it's their very first project, and I have to counsel them about, how the process goes, what kind of information is going to be required for them to obtain the loan. And so, my job has a lot of different aspects to it. I have to network and go out and, look for business, find the business. And then once I bring it back into the bank, that's what's so interesting about what all of us do in commercial real estate is no property and no loan or project is the same. It's a different property type. It's in a different location. So there's never a dull moment, but it can also be very challenging. But it's a lot of fun.
Was there a second part to the question?
Yes. Do you feel like this is different than any other field? Or why is your field different than others?
As far as challenges go, I think hearing Debbie and Sherry, I think those are both very similar for me. There's the client challenges, the different types of projects challenges. There also things that are changing. There's new ways of thinking. A lot of what I do are roadways, or roadways to developments, or roadways out of development. So there's a lot of new ways that they're trying to change, or things are changing really. They're trying to be more multimodal, more bikes, more pedestrian friendly, more so than I was, when we were designing projects early on. So that challenge, it's really cool to see how things are changing and how much more of a focus we're putting on the bicyclists and the pedestrians. So really kind of the ever-changing, needs of the community, I think, is something that is fun to deal with. It's challenging and sometimes it's hard, but that's really the part of my job that makes it fun. Something new every day.
That's excellent. Thank you. We don't have any questions currently in the chat box. I'll give anybody who's on the call a minute to unmute and see if there's any brave souls that want to ask a question live.
Hello, one of my students have a question. How hard were your jobs?
Say that one more time.
How hard was your jobs?
How hard is your job? Go ahead. You guys can just shout out.
I'll start. It depends on what day and what project I'm working on. I guess one of the things, like we were talking about before, is some parts of my job are harder than others, and some parts I enjoy more than others. I really like going out and meeting with the client, going out and finding the business. But then once I get the business and I'm trying to get it closed, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of coordination that needs to happen between underwriting the loan to make sure the borrower qualifies, to getting legal documents out of my attorney, which Debbie actually happens to be helping me with the deal right now, to getting the loan booked and closed. And so it's really day to day. Some days aren't hard at all, and then other days can be very trying. But overall, I really enjoy what I do, and I've had a very nice career and a nice ride. And commercial real estate is just a lot of fun, I think.
And my job is, I really enjoy it, being a lawyer. I think the hardest part is managing all my projects and making sure that I meet all the deadlines. It's like when you have homework and you're trying to do homework for different classes. I have work I have to do on different projects with different clients, and they all have different deadlines. So that's the hardest part of my job is managing all the projects and meeting all the deadlines.
I guess I would agree. I mean, I think when it's hard, I remember how much I enjoy it. So I think that's the part. If I was doing something else that maybe I didn't love, the hard days would be probably too hard. But getting through, solving different puzzles, I think is the way I like to think about it. It's hard, but the part at the end, that's the funnest part, when you get to see what you design and you get to see it built and you get to see people using it. That makes up for all the hard days, because there are hard days for sure.
Thank you. Were there any other questions from Ms. Salazar's class? I know we have one in the chat box, but we'll come to the question first if there is one.
Yes, we have one quick question. How do they pay you? By week, per hour, or per day?
Thank you. Go ahead. We can start with Savina.
I get paid every 2 weeks, and I work 40 hours at least, probably a lot more than that. So I get paid every 2 weeks. But as a professional engineer, I work more than 40 hours sometimes. So.
And I always work more than 40 hours. I've been very, very busy. And as a lawyer, I bill by the hour. So the way I get paid is different depending on how much work I have.
So, Lindsay, could you repeat the question? I'm not sure I heard the question.
He was wondering if you get paid per hour, per day, per week.
Oh, okay. Well, I get paid, I'm on a salary plus benefits like health insurance and vacation and sick leave, and we get paid every 2 weeks. And then I get bonuses for production. So there are a lot of different ways I get compensated, but primarily it's biweekly paycheck.
Excellent, thank you. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, but we do have one more question in the chat box that I think it's important to touch on. If we could maybe just have one of you touch on Crew a little bit. So can you talk about a networking group like Crew, and what is networking and why is it important for your job? So if one of you wants to tackle that and just a quick little blurb about Crew, that would be awesome. Thank you.
So if you don't mind, ladies, I'll take that one. CREW stands for, it's an acronym for Commercial Real Estate Women, although we do have some men in our group. But basically what networking is going into organizations that have other people in that organization that you think can help you in your business, help you generate clients, help you advance in your career. That so you know, both, as we said, both Debbie and Savina are in Crew, and we have bankers, we have title company people, we have attorneys, engineers, architects, developers. So with all of the people that are in Crew, you could develop a project from all the way from the land acquisition to building the building to leasing or selling the building, because we have brokers. So a networking group is typically just a group of people that have similar goals and similar interests that you have. And in the instance of Crew, that organization is to help advance the careers of women in real estate. That's our primary objective. So we try and do business with each other, help each other out, and grow in our respective careers. And Crew's been around. We were founded in 2007, and we're still going strong. And I was president of Crew in 2013, and I've been on numerous committees as both of these ladies have been. So, and like I say, we do business together.
Thank you so much. I want to be respectful of everyone's time, so we're going to wrap up. So thank you so much, Debbie, Sherry, and Savina. Thank you so much for being here with us today. And kiddos and students that are on the call with us today, thank you for being with us, and I hope you enjoyed the program. But before we log off, this is really important. We do a post-program mindset survey, and so if you complete the survey, you can get a gift card. So make sure you fill out the survey, and then if you're a winner, I'll send you a gift card. So make sure if you fill out that survey, it'll come out to you guys after the session today, and then you have until Monday to complete the survey. And then we choose the winners on Monday. So make sure that you keep an eye out for that, and that'll be coming to the teacher's email after this session. So lastly, just making a note that we don't do these events weekly anymore. We do them monthly. And so next month, we will be hosting on November 10th, and we will have a young entrepreneur named Robert Punya, and he is the owner of Pokey Pokey Cevicheria in Albuquerque, as well as the Sweet Cup here in Albuquerque. So keep an eye out for that, and he'll be answering all your entrepreneurship questions. So thank you so much, Debbie and Sherry and Savina, and to everyone on the call, and we'll see you all next month.
Thank you.
Thank you.